I feel like a failure. I feel like I have been failing, tomato, tomato, and I just want to take some time to talk about it. No intro, no nothing. First, from just a general sense that I think anybody can relate to, and then more specific on why I feel that way. I think that as an adult, it gets much harder to separate your value from your function, worthiness from your activities and productivity. Think about it. When you're in college, I don't think, or at least I didn't have a crazy sense of pride that I was a college student. I was just a student in school, living my life, having a good time. But once you graduate and you get into the real working world, you have so many metrics of just productivity that then assign you value, as I said. So if you're not doing good at your job, it makes you feel like you're not a good person. It makes you feel like you can't enjoy other aspects of your life because this specific function is just not going well or as it should. Same thing in other roles as well, other roles that have some metric or some value assigned to it, even like being a parent. I have a lot of friends who have children and they have spoken to me in pretty great depth about how they often don't feel like a good human when they don't feel like they're being a good mom or a good dad. That degree of role strain from a singular identity, it suffocates and consumes all of the other aspects of you. Suddenly you're not a good human just because things aren't going well at work, but you're still a dad, you're still a friend, you're still, somebody's mentor. You have all these other areas of your life that are just as important, but for whatever reason, seeing yourself in one dimension, it's suffocating. And I don't think that it's something that, at least personally, I was very conscious of, and I'm not sure how many other people are conscious of that you're doing this to yourself. It's also why losing that identity can feel so rough. Let's take athletes, for example. We tend to joke about how people try to stay in their prime and stay relevant, and you have the football wannabe who ends up being the local coach because he can't let go of his dreams. But that's because this person has invested so much stake in this one identity that when that no longer is a thing, either by choice or by force, or it just expired, right? It ran its course. You feel lost. You feel clueless on what now and who am I outside of this role and outside of this identity. And it's doomsday-like. It's very existential in feeling. I think the other thing that makes adulting difficult is being in transition periods. I love a good analogy, y'all. If you're not familiar with my page, I'm always using analogies in my videos. I liken this to a flight. If your flight gets canceled, it's canceled. You can go home or maybe you'll rebook one for later, but the flight is canceled versus being in the airport and your flight is delayed. Your timeline is no longer the one that you planned for. And that is what makes it frustrating, that you have taken all this time, all this effort to have this plan be executed in some way, and then boom, monkey wrench, and there's nothing you can do to remove that wrench. That is a more frustrating feeling, in my opinion, than something actually ending. Like I said, flight canceled, whatever, rebook, versus flight delayed and you're there hours on end inside the lobby or hours on end during a layover, and then you get increased anxiety. Oh, I can't wait to get to the destination. I think that is how I would characterize my life right now, that I'm in this weird transition period where I know that I'm going to go back to school. So again, if you're not familiar with my channel, I'm a medical student. I was in a leave of absence. I have a whole playlist, a whole bunch of stuff as to why I'm in the position that I am right now. And it's like I've accepted it. I've accepted that I'm not going to be rotating until March of 2026. But then I just feel lost. I feel lost. I feel like I don't know who I am without my white coat, without that stethoscope around my neck. And that's very scary for me because I've always prided myself in being a person that is able to embrace all aspects of herself because I'm somebody that has a lot of interest. I've never been solely invested in medicine. I've always had other interests. I've always had other hobbies. I've always had things that I would pursue in addition to medicine, not instead of medicine, but in addition to it. And these are things that I still actively pursue, but I guess I got kind of scared realizing how clueless I am. I never realized how much stock I really put into successfully becoming a doctor. Even in finding a job, y'all, I don't know what the heck my skill set is even applicable for. I have had so much trouble actually finding and applying to jobs that will pay me what I am worth. Because it's not as if I don't have an undergrad degree. It's not as if I don't have 2 years of professional education under my belt. So what do you mean that I can only find a job that's gonna pay me like $50K a year? I'm confused. In this economy? And that's so stressful because then I have my friends who are working in their 9-to-5s and they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for their given degree. And it's just like, dang, like I did did not go to school to do anything else but become a doctor. All of my internships, all of my extracurriculars, they were geared towards medicine. So how scary is it now that I'm left in this weird waiting period where I'm not really in medicine? What the heck? What the hell? Also, in the like transition delay period, the fact that I am getting older, I thought that by now I would be married. I'd have, you know, somebody to go through this process with. I didn't think that this would be something that I'd be going through alone. There's just so much that I had riding on this plan that just did not execute the way that I thought. And it makes me feel like I've done something wrong. It makes me feel like a failure, like I've just not amounted to what I said that I was going to do. And that's just so unkind. That's an unkind way to make myself feel, for anybody to make themselves feel, because there's only but so much that's in your control, bro. There really is. There's only but so much that you can do to try to avoid bad outcomes, but bad outcomes are going to happen. Focusing on my attitude when these bad things happen to me and just applauding myself for continuing to get up and try and be positive. These are all good things about myself that I really try to lock in on and not settle in this nasty discomfort of I am not the person that I thought that I was going to be. Editor Z popping in here. I don't think it helps that I was also supposed to graduate like in a couple months. I'm supposed to be in interview season, just like my former cohort of 2026, right? I was supposed to have been done. And the fact that I haven't even gotten started with my rotations, that's also just throwing me off. It's just like, yeah, this is not what the timeline was. This is not where I envisioned. This is not where I imagined. So when I say that I'm not the person that I thought that I was going to be, I don't even mean that in a characteristic personality trait, mindset, attitude kind of thing. No, I literally just thought that I would be somewhere else in my life. And that's what's dangerous. It's the fact that I'm ignoring that I am the person that I want to be. I'm just not where I'm at. I'm not where I want to be. So the fact that I said it that way in the video as almost a Freudian slip should let y'all know how deeply ingrained that this is or can become. And I see now why people have midlife crises. I see now how that can happen, because again, I think that that's probably just another state of transition where you're entering this weird phase of your life that's not quite there, but also not quite gone. And it's uncomfortable. Like I said, I would rather know that the flight is canceled. I'd rather know to just go on and fully rebook, go on and do a whole nother route. But instead it feels like I'm stuck on a treadmill. I can't quite see the end goal, even though I know what it is. And I'm in this weird slow motion cinematic kind of thing. And it's very off-putting. I will say that. And I don't think that it helps that I am capturing all of this for social media. That's not to say that I regret my platforms ever. I obviously enjoy content creation. I wouldn't have started it if I didn't. I have a lot of plans for my content, but being perceived as a version of you that you weren't expecting is a very disconcerting feeling. It's weird being perceived in a stage of my life that I didn't plan for and that I'm just kind of figuring it out. And sometimes I get scared that that shows up in my videos, that they come off disorganized, that they come off confused, and they don't resonate and land the way that they do. Because the unfortunate reality is that being somebody online and having a following, it does kind of require that people look up to you. It kind of requires that people want to follow you and see what you have going on because they like how you're navigating a space, how you're navigating a situation, something, whatever, that they can kind of learn from or relate to. And I just feel like all I'm doing is just existing. I don't know who the audience is for that. I will say that a majority, not even a majority, 90, yeah, that is still the majority, John A. 99% of the videos that I have posted have come from this perspective of medicine. My video titles, Day in the Life of a Med Student, Monthly Med Diary, Daily Life Update of a Med Student, like everything is always phrased through this one dimension, through this one identity. And I'm kind of surprised at myself that that's the route that I ended up taking unconsciously, because it's definitely something that I have criticized my peers for, the other medfluencers. I would say something like, oh, I would never just put myself into a box and all I'm gonna do is how-to videos and take you through my classroom. No, I'm gonna take you guys with me on vlogs and coffee shop dates. And I've done that, but I have always still filtered it through the lens of medicine, even when it didn't need to be. Like, I didn't need to necessarily make a upload called Dating While in Medical School, because yes, there are certain variables that I wasn't expecting. There are things that do happen just from a hierarchical sense, but in general, my love life more so pertains to like my personality, way that I approach dating, the way that I approach romance, my traumas. That's what forms my dating life, not necessarily the fact that I'm a medical student. But yet I felt the need to phrase it that way on my channel, because that is the one dimension that I have marketed myself as. And it's no wonder then that I am having trouble kind of disconnecting and allowing myself to just be and just exist and appreciate this version of myself as much as I appreciated the med student. I got a hit though of confirmation bias that I was not as worthy without my white coat once my video views started dropping. I do not blame y'all, my loves, if you're subscribed to my channel or anybody who has come across my platform. I'm not blaming y'all for not being as interested or as engaged or whatever. It's just more so, again, figuring out where do I land now that I'm not in a traditional rotation format of medicine and the medical, you know, program progression. How do I communicate this? Like, who am I? Who is the audience that I'm going to form now? And just being okay that it's going to be slow. That, again, some people are just not going to be interested in my day-to-day, and, you know, why should they care? And just like being accepting of that and not assigning my worth and value to some views. And that, I don't know, that was just such an ego check for me. I am very surprised at the degree of ego that I was living in and how hard my ego had been bruised, had been hit, to where I needed like a couple days off. I couldn't even do the live because I was literally in my house crying. I was crying and feeling bad about myself. And I don't know if what I'm saying even makes sense, if I'm just yapping and rambling, but I felt compelled to post this, especially around now as we are nearing the end of Q3, because I always think that this is rough for a lot of people. You're starting school, maybe you secured that job, that summer job, and now it's transitioning more into, okay, I'm working here long term, and now I have performance evaluations that I gotta worry about. This is a period right before fall season, before things get real. Fall and winter season, before things get real. It's no more hee-hees and ha-has of the summer fun and summer water slides. Like, nah, now it's time to lock in and get focused. And if things are just not going according to the plan that you prep for, it can feel very heartbreaking. It can feel very disorienting for sure, both from the role identity strain and from a sense of, wow, this is a weird transition period that I have to get used to. So the only thing that I want to encourage anybody who may see this video, I want to encourage you that, like, you are valuable across multiple dimensions of your life, and it's okay if sometimes these different components of you don't fit together neat and perfect. It doesn't have to be tidy. It doesn't always have to, again, go according to plan and go according to flow. It is still all a part of your journey of who you are. And to embrace that, like, don't rob yourself of the opportunity to experience yourself in full just because it's not the identity that you wanted or the exact outcome that you wanted. I absolutely love the fact and value the fact that I'm a medical student, but I'm also going to have to value the fact that that program curriculum is paused for me right now, and it will not resume for several months. Like, by the time I go back to school, I could have had a baby. That's how long I have been out of the regular program. So imagine if the only thing that I did was allow all of my lessons, learning lessons, life lessons, fun, enjoyment to be consumed by this idea of, this is all just going to make me a better doctor. I'm not even really enjoying it then. I'm not really experiencing it for what it is. I'm always putting it into a context that's just not in my reach right now. Why do that to myself? Why rob myself, as I said, of these experiences in their fullness and entirety? I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling now, so this is just going to be the end of the video. I just wanted to upload this and be honest, especially as somebody that has multiple creative interests, right? Again, being a content creator, being somebody that's still within the medical programming, right? I still have leadership roles and research and things that I do. A girly that works out, a girly that's still single. I have all of these multifunctional identities, these multi-purposeful identities, and just trying to figure out how to arrange them, order them, settle them, market them, brand them, right? Trying to figure it out can be so overwhelming. And I just hope that you guys would just join me on the journey, join me on the process, and know that my channel is adapting and forming into something that I didn't quite expect, but that I'm still gonna embrace. I have some job hunting to do that I plan on recording and talking about, and hopefully giving some helpful tips and advice for people who also are having difficulty in applying transferable skills and marketing themselves appropriately in different disciplines, regular day in the life stuff that I want to do, events that I have coming up, and just being okay that this is a significant part of who I am too, and that is just as worthy to display and show. I think that's it, and I will come back probably on Sunday with a live. If you guys have been, you know, keeping up with my channel, I go live on Sundays, and hopefully I'll just get back more consistent. I think that I just needed to get something out here on my platform to let y'all know where my head is at in terms of my self-perception, because my self-perception, if it's weak, if it's vulnerable, if it's low, then my production quality is also going to go down. My creativity is also going to go down. I'm just not going to be making videos that are even going to be enjoyable for y'all to watch, let alone for me to record and edit and make. All right, bye.